Hi everybody, I'm Leonie.
Hi, I'm Una, and it is our pleasure to guide you through leather care tips and tricks every handbag lover should be aware of. So, let's start. We do have quite a lot of questions from our audience about leather care, so let's start from the beginning. Leonie, let's say you have a dream bag and you really want to take care of it. What would you do?
So, getting a new bag, whether it's pre-loved or store-bought, is a little bit like starting a new relationship. It might be love at first sight and you want to carry it around 24/7.
But it might take some time to get to know each other, right?
Exactly. It is worthwhile to take the time to understand your bag's leather, understand what it needs and find the right care routine. So, for example, smooth leathers are generally more prone to scratching or damage than grained ones.
Okay, and can you tell me a bit about the popular leathers here on SACLAB?
Right, so maybe we start with Chanel. One of our most popular leathers is the buttery soft Chanel lambskin. It does actually not scratch quite as easily as a lot of people think. However, it needs more everyday care than caviar, for example, which has a treated finish, so it's quite resistant to scratching or even water. Well, and then you have calfskin that ranks somewhere in between.
Okay, and what about Hermès?
So similarly, we would start by dividing into grained and smooth leathers. For grained leathers, you have Togo, that is very popular, also Clémence calfskin, which is quite a heavy leather. You also have embossed Epsom leather, which holds the structure really well, and all of these are quite easy to care for. But then smooth leathers, such as Swift or box calfskin, they are quite prone to scratching, so be careful.
We also do have exotic skins, which are quite precious but quite sensitive as well. We often receive the questions about at-home care. So, Leonie, could you tell me a bit more about how one could take care of their bag on a daily basis?
Right, so it always starts with finding the perfect product. This should be mild, ideally of course not alcohol or perfume based. So this is our SACLAB bag care kit. It consists of a restoring leather cleanser, a protecting leather balm, and 2 sponges. So with this, you're perfectly equipped on a daily basis to take care of your bag.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. And how would you actually apply it?
So you start with the leather cleanser, and you use it to just carefully remove any dirt from the surface of your bag. Then the second step is the protecting leather balm. And this helps to protect the bag, but it also revives the shine. For instance, for smooth leather bags like lambskin, if you polish it a little bit, you can really give it back a little bit of its oomph.
How often would you actually recommend bag care then?
It always depends on how often you wear your bag. I think every 6 months is a good rhythm. However, I should say, if you have an exotic leather bag, care really is best left to the experts. I would recommend handing it in roughly every 2 years for professional bag care treatment.
Okay.
If in between you feel like it needs a little bit of care, you can use a very soft microfiber cloth that is dry, so that is essential, no water, and then carefully groom it, always in line with the scales.
Okay, that sounds like a very good tip, but let's talk a bit more about damage. And is there a way to prevent damage?
That's an excellent question, because in this case as well, prevention is the best remedy.
Yeah.
Protecting your bag from damage also helps you to keep up its value, given you ever might want to resell it. One thing everybody of us can apply in their daily lives is keep spillable or sharp objects in an extra pouch, just to make sure you protect the inside of the bag.
So you mean like keys, makeup?
Pens, exactly. Anything that could harm the inside, that is usually also lined with leather.
For me, for instance, what I always try to do when I'm traveling, I also always bring an extra canvas tote where I put my bag in, simply to prevent the leather from being damaged at the airport, let's say.
Yes, especially going through security. That's a great advice.
Yeah, it's a good one, yeah.
Yes. One more thing I always recommend is, I know it's tough, but try not to put your bag on the floor if you're out in public.
But could you tell me also a bit more like how to properly store your bag over a longer period of time?
Carefully stuff your bag just to support its shape, and then you can place it inside its dust bag and inside its box.
Okay, and if I don't have a box?
Then I would recommend still, of course, using a dust bag. That is crucial also, simply to protect it. And if you have, for instance, an Hermès Birkin bag or any bag that stands upright, also store it like this. So keep it in a shelf and protect it from direct sunlight, ideally at room temperature.
Leather is a natural material, which means it can be quite prone to changes in temperature, sunlight, and humidity. Talking about humidity, how damaging can it be for your bag?
It's good to be aware of where you live and to perhaps adapt your care routine in correspondence to that. So for humidity, in hot and very humid climates, leather can develop mold. However, not to worry, that doesn't happen overnight. But if you do plan to store your bag for a longer period of time, we recommend to just keep it ventilated and make sure nothing happens to it. There's also certain leather types, like patent leather, for instance, that don't hold up very well in extremely hot and humid climates. On the other hand, you have low humid climates where leather can potentially dry out and even crack. So here it's important to take care of it really well, nourish the leather. So we would recommend to apply balm or conditioner repeatedly, maybe a bit more often than you usually would. On that note, even though we don't suffer from that here in the Netherlands, extensive sunlight can also be very damaging to the color and fade it out.
Okay, that makes sense, but talking about the Netherlands, what about rain?
Rain is very damaging to your bag, so water in general can leave persistent stains, so it's really important to protect it. I would recommend carry around a small foldable plastic bag and just take that out whenever it starts raining and protect your bag, or use the Hermès rain cover.
Okay, that is for sure a good tip, but what happens if my bag does get wet? What should I do?
Then it's important to just carefully dab or dry it off with a soft microfiber cloth. Don't use frothy because that could roughen up the surface of the leather. And then give it time to dry naturally. Don't use a heater, don't use a hairdryer. Be careful and give it some time to rest.
Yeah, no heater.